Hey guys, and welcome to the Kurima podcast, where we talk about business, finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate. I'm your host, Jason Kurima, and I have a very special guest today, Jason Wike. Jason, it's a pleasure to have you.
Man, it's so awesome to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome. Well, Jason has an amazing story. He started We Are Warriors clothing brand, and then he also is a real estate investor. And so I just want to dive into your story and see kind of how you got started and what some of your goals are later on, and we'll kind of go from there.
Perfect. So to start off with, I'm a car guy. So that's where all of my stories start is from car rallies or being around car guys. Yeah. So one of my really close friends in our car group out of Tulsa, we were on a rally, and my history, I've done a lot of things, whether it be construction or solar panels or just a lot of different things. And he was like, man, he goes, you know how to do so many different things, and you know how to do so many different things well. He's like, if you could find one thing that you're passionate about and really focus on that one thing, like you'd be a millionaire. And I really took that to heart. And I was like, so I went home, prayed about it, really just, seeking, what is that thing that I'm passionate about? And, of course, cars is one, but the other thing was, so I collect hats, t-shirts, and hoodies. And I was like, man, I've always wanted to be able to have like my own stuff that I could wear. Mm-hmm. And originally, I came up with the brand, and it was going to be called the Bearded Ginger, hence, the red beard. And I already had the design and everything, created, made out. And so I brought the idea to my buddy, and he was like, he goes, I like the idea of the clothing brand. He goes, but this right here, you're going to alienate 99% of the population of the world, and he goes, don't make it about you. Like, he goes, this is really selfish. And he goes, try to figure out how you can give back to people as you're creating your brand. So again, I went back home and I was like, okay. And this was like right in the middle of COVID and all that type of stuff. This was also during the whole like Me Too movement and all of the like men getting bashed, for toxic masculinity and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I really had a heart for, men fighting for their families, men fighting for their dreams, men fighting for their marriages. And so I brought that up to him. I said, I have this idea. It's going to be called We Are Warriors Apparel. And this is the idea behind it. I want to encourage men, inspire men to fight in a positive way for those things that they hold dear. And he goes, man, I love that. He goes, but, and again, this is during COVID. He goes, all those nurses right now that are on the front line fighting COVID. He goes, they're warriors too. He goes, all those single moms that are trying to raise their kids and hold down a job and go to school. He goes, they're warriors too. Yep. And so I sat back and I, thought about it again. And I'm like, I go, you know what, man, we all have something that we have to get up and fight and face every single day. And so it went from being very directional to just men to like, it opened up towards, everybody. And so we went so I took that idea and I drew up this little Spartan guy. And this group, it's called the Mofos group. And we had our first networking meeting. And so I took this drawing. It was introducing everybody, and we were all talking about our goals and what we were going to be doing and who we were. And, because we all help each other. These guys are multimillionaires, all professional business people, but most of them have worked themselves up from nothing. And so I go in with this piece of paper, a notebook paper, said, I'm getting ready to start a clothing brand. Here's my logo. This is what we're going to do. And 3 months later, I had a fully branded, like we launched. I mean, I had, we started off with 6 designs. I had branded boxes. I had like branded thank you cards. We had branded, I mean, when I do anything, I don't do anything halfway. I'm like, if I'm going to do it, it's going to look like we've been doing this for many, many years. And so all of it's gone, amazing from that point on. And then on the real estate side, I used to work for an amazing gentleman that owns a whole bunch of real estate properties, both commercial apartments and all that type of stuff. And I learned so much from him. And one of the things that I started doing was I've always wanted to get into real estate because all the big guys all talk about that being a huge wealth building tool. And I wanted to be able to leave a legacy for my family. That's not just, hey, I went and worked a 9-to-5 job and now I've got my 401k or my retirement. I wanted to have something that was more substantial and something that I could leave like work-wise. I wanted my kids to be able to see both the good and the bad of entrepreneurship so they could go, you know what, we're prepared for when they grew up and then they chose whatever path they wanted to do. So 2 years ago, we bought our first flip and went through that one. We flipped ourselves, like 90% of it. And we made really, really good money on it, like great money on it. Great, let's do the next one. Found the next house. And the one thing with, and some of the other investor guys may not agree with me on this, but I value my time. And I looked at it and said, you know what? I'm going to find a good contractor, and I would rather have my time for my family and to be able to pursue my other dreams that I want to do. And I'll make a little less money and let somebody else do all the work.
Absolutely. That's what we do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Life-changing.
Yeah.
Life-changing. And so our second flip house, we went and looked at it, and I do the buying of the stuff. So I'll buy like, all the fixtures and all. Who doesn't like going shopping? For all the stuff you're like, hey, I would love to have this at my house. Let's put it over there and make money off of it. So, so I would do all the shopping of everything. So all they had to do was
get like the main materials, wood, all that.
And then, but that second house, we didn't do nothing. Like I didn't lift, not a paintbrush, not anything. And, and we still made a pretty decent amount on it, like, I don't know, we probably made $5,000 less than if we would have done it
all
ourselves.
The work.
And I'm like, yeah. So, then we bought our third house. And then in August, our last house we had, like, that was the one where we actually had like a snafu. Everybody runs into contractor issues and stuff like that. Yeah. So this was our first one we ran into contractor issues. And so we get through, we thought the house was done, and we go in, everybody's looking at the house, no offers. And I'm like, man, what's going on? So I finally go, and my bad, I should have walked the house when he said he was done, but I didn't. And so when I go walk through it, I see all these different things, and I was just like, geez. So had to pay another contractor to go get it all finished. And at that point, the market has sort of started softening. And, instead of making $140 a square, we were making $83 a square. And I'm like, all right, so now we're going to buy and hold and start doing rentals. And from August 1st to the middle of September, we went from 0 rentals to 20 doors in a month and a half. So,
wow, that's amazing.
So growing really fast, really hard.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So what's one of the best lessons you've learned, like both in real estate and in business?
Don't be afraid to fail. A lot of people will try to start something and they'll feel that they have to be perfect at it and before they can, walk into it. Don't be afraid to study. Don't be afraid to research, but get started. Like, go find your first deal. Oh. If you want to do a clothing line or you want to be an artist or you want to be whatever it is you want to do, Like, start it. It's going to suck at first,
Yeah.
like
That's exactly what we did. And that's what I live by, is just figure it out as you go. Like,
Yep.
probably, I mean, maybe I don't do as much research as I probably should, but at least I started, and then I just kind of figure it out as I go. And for the most part, it's always worked out. So I love that advice.
Oh yeah. Imperfect action is going to beat standing still, trying to wait for perfection any day of the week.
Absolutely.
And the thing is as long as you are taking small steps forward, it's still forward momentum.
Yeah.
I'll take any forward momentum over stagnant and standing still any day of the week. Yeah. If you are not in the game, you're never going to have a chance to win.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather be playing, and if I get beat up, I'll learn. Alex Hormozy said, you either win or you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no failure.
I loved that. I'm like, because true successful people will take what others would consider failures and they'll learn from it. And then the next time they do that same thing, they're going to go, and they'll make the adjustments. And then that next one will be a win.
Yeah, exactly. Let's kind of dive into some of the stories you had about like your brand and what it means, and then some of the really touching stories behind that.
Okay. So we are an inspirational clothing brand. So as I had mentioned earlier, we all have some type of battle that we face every single day. And sometimes it is literally just as hard as putting your 2 feet on the floor and getting out of bed in the morning. And then sometimes it's darker and, deeper than, anybody else can imagine. And through our journey, we have had so many stories, so many people that have connected with us and have been like, this is who you are to us. Like, this is how we resonate with the brand. We've, as I was, sharing with, Jason earlier, we have a gentleman, he's a veteran, lives in Alaska. And, I was telling, like, I don't know why anybody would want to live in Alaska, especially when you're dealing with PTSD and stuff like that, because it's dark half the year. But I got a message from him. So when we rebranded in March to our Overcome edition, we actually launched with an olive green set. And we did it to pay homage to our military. It was during a time when everybody was getting pulled out of Afghanistan and all that type of stuff, and everybody was just sort of hating on the military. And we wanted to, really tell them, hey, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And so this veteran, purchased one of our hoodies, and on the back of our hoodies, it has overcome, and then it has the definition. So it says, to defeat an enemy, to prevail. And I get a message from him, and he goes, today was a super dark day. And he goes, I woke up and I just had to sit down and look at the back of that hoodie for 15 minutes before I finally took a deep breath. I put it on and I went and conquered my day.
That's awesome, man. And it's weird. I'm getting chills again. Like, you just told me that story and I'm getting them again.
Yeah, we had, so when we did the rebrand and we relaunched everything in March, we did it at a car show, the World of Wheels in Kansas City, and never done live. Never, everything we've done had always been online. Never connected with anybody, and we had the full big tent, awesome branded tent. We had cool branded banners, and we did the whole thing legit. And the stories that we would hear from people at a car show. And it was a 3-day show, so it was a huge show.
Yeah.
But it was the stories we would hear. I remember on the last day, this couple came up, and they were recovering addicts. I think she told me they were 8 years clean, and and they were now successful business people, and they were telling us a little bit about their story. And she holds up her coin. She goes, you see this coin? She goes, all this coin does is tell me the last time that I messed up. And she goes, when we started trying to get our lives straight, get our lives back together, she goes, nobody wanted to give us jobs. Nobody wanted to give us a chance. She goes, the reason why we started our business is because we had to, we had no choice. She goes, it was either that or go right back into what we were doing. And she goes, luckily we've persevered and we've been successful out of that. And she goes, this right here, she goes, this is the first time we've seen anything where somebody is coming in and says, you know what, you are worth it. You are a warrior. You can overcome. And she was just like, thank you so, so much. We had, so one of my mentor friend that, had talked about, me starting the business, he's got a Lamborghini. And at the beginning of this year, end of last year, he was like, hey, I want to help you blow up. I'm going to wrap this Lamborghini in your brand. And
it looks sweet, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
We'll try to show a picture or something.
Yeah. And then, so during that, and then he would go do photo shoots and he covered the whole thing. So shout out to Eddie. But he would go do photo shoots and he was doing everything he could to help, to build the brand on his end. And, he ends up going to Europe for a month and a half.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, hey, I'm going to be gone for a month and a half. I know you've got a bunch of shows and a bunch of stuff to do. Come get the car. So I go pick up the car and he's like, I want you to go do all your photo shoots, everything you can while you've got it, promote as much as you can. And I was at the mall delivering some product for that we were donating for a special mom's deal. And as I'm there, this dad pulls up in a car and he's like, hey, would you mind if my son took a picture with the car? And I'm like, of course, let him sit inside, I'm open the door and and this young boy gets out and he's probably 10 or 11 years old. And he's got stage 4 leukemia. Man. And head completely shaved. He's got huge bruises, on his arms, walking super, super slow. Can't even smile. You could tell his body's just beat. And so I'm devastated. I'm just tore up watching this little boy. And I'm and I remembered I had an extra hat in the frunk of the car. So I'm so I go and I open the frunk, I get the hat and I bend down and I get down, eye to eye with him. And his name was Isaac. And I'm telling him, who we are, what we stand for. And I go, Isaac, I said, you are the strongest warrior that I've ever met. And I said, none of us can even fathom what you're fighting right now. And you wake up every single day and you get up and you fight. Yeah. And I was like, I want to give you this hat, and just say, I'm so proud of you. And I'm bawling. His dad's bawling. And he put on the biggest smile that he could. I immediately, of course, put it on. And he was just so excited. And his dad looked at me and he goes, you have no idea the impact that you just made, And it was those are the type of things that we get to connect with. We have a professional soccer player that wears our stuff. And he had got injured and was told it was a career-ending injury. And they were like, you're never going to get to play soccer again. And we had met during his rehabilitation process. And he had got to the point where he was he actually he beat the odds. He was going to get to play again. And he messages me and he's like, dude, on my first game back to play, I have to wear your full outfit. So his game day fit walking into that arena was a full We Are Warriors outfit because he overcame that obstacle.
That's awesome.
And it's just story after story after story. I had one guy that messaged us, and he hadn't even bought any product. He had just found us on Facebook and was following us. And again, this was right towards the end of when COVID was sort of started dying down, but it was still when all the the job situations and everything was going on. And so he got laid off from his job. 2 weeks later, his dad died.
Jeez.
2 weeks after that, his brother was killed in a car crash.
Oh my gosh.
And he's so big message. He's telling me this story. And he was done. And he's like, God, if you want me to stay on this planet, you better show me. And he opens up Facebook, and our post that we had for the day, the inspiring post that we had, he was like, it connected with, it was exactly what he needed. And he messaged me back. He goes, I just want to tell you I'm here today because of that post. And when you get to have a brand that is changing legacies, you know, that is changing the directions of people's lives, it's like, you know, if he's here 5 years from now because of a post that we put on Facebook, or that veteran is here 5 years from now because of a message that we have on the back of a hoodie, like,
I feel like God's just working through your brand, and man, it's amazing.
Yeah, and to get, you know, they talk about, you know, getting to be, you know, the hands and feet of Christ. Mm-hmm. You know, yes, it's a business. Like, we're here to make money. Like, that's how we continue to get to do what we do. But the lives that we get to touch at the same time, like, that's what makes it all worth it. Yep. It's like, if it all falls apart tomorrow and we've made enough of an impact on this planet that the 1,000 people that have bought from us change, their lives are changed because of it, it's all worth it.
Absolutely. So what does believe in yourself mean to you?
That is trying to do it where it's not like, you know, secular sounding, you know, because, you know, as believers, we believe in ourselves, but we also know that we have a higher power that that helps us in our weakness, you know. So, but believe in myself is that there is no dream that I have that I cannot succeed in. So whatever I put myself, you know, like, if I fail, it's my fault. If I fail, it's because I didn't put enough effort in. I didn't put my time in. If I'm scrolling on Facebook and TikTok and just going through social media instead of doing the things that I know that I need to do, then that's my fault. You know, like, to believe in myself means that no matter what I set my mind to, I will conquer, I will overcome, and I will make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's a great answer, man. So what are a few goals that you have right now that you're currently trying to achieve?
So I have actually quite a few, and I learned this from my old boss. I set goals that are extravagant, you know, like, because if you know, the old saying, if you shoot for the moon, even if you don't make it, you'll end up among the stars. And so I have, in my real estate stuff, I have 2 different main partners. And in one partner, we want to be at 100 doors by the end of this year. And right now we're already at 20. And then with my other partner, we want to be at 10 million in holdings, in assets. And I think right now, once everything's done, we have a bunch of construction stuff that's getting ready to happen. So once what we have currently and the construction stuff is done, we'll be right around 3.5 million. And then my clothing line, this year we 15x'd what we did last year. And I would love to 15x again this year. Yeah. And I do a lot of traveling with it. So like February, we'll be in Tulsa, and then the next weekend, or the first weekend of March, we'll be in California. So we'll be doing 2 shows in California. The weekend after that, I'll be in Orlando, Florida. So we're going to be in Arizona. We do a lot of traveling to be able to, of course, meet people face to face. But that also helps expand our reach, because you're getting to people that maybe the algorithm in social media is not letting you reach. But once people are connecting with you and you're in, like, they're immediately following you, you know, right then and there. So now they're connected. They're part of the community. Yeah. So those are the things. So I think minimum, we want a 15x on the clothing brand this year.
Yeah. And you guys bring a lot of your stuff that you have for sale and everything. So do you drive every time you travel? Or man, how is that? Is it?
It's one of those necessary evils, you know. You know, I have a really cool little van now that we imported in from Japan. So like they don't even make them here in the States.
Oh, wow.
It's right-hand drive. The whole back of it folds down into a bed, and it's really cool. Like it has the body kit and like the wing and all that stuff, and it's super cool. I love it. And it's actually getting wrapped right now. Shout out to Blake over at Just Wrap It. But it's getting wrap, wheels, tires. But I wanted something that not only could I use to haul all my product in, but something that when we're doing car shows, I could put in and have as a booth car. Yep. So it kills two birds with one stone. So the one that we're doing in California, my wife's family's from California. So we're going to make a vacation out of it. So we're going to go a little early, spend some time with them, and we're actually going to take a little trailer to put all the product in. So the kids can have the bed in the back, and it's got a drop down DVD player. So
that's cool.
Have some fun with it. But having something cool to drive definitely makes it a lot more fun. Yeah,
for sure. So how have you grown over the years, and is there something that makes you more successful than you used to be?
One of the biggest things that I've grown is not being afraid to take those first steps, sort of like what we had talked about earlier. You know, when you're starting out in anything, that first whatever is always scary. When we did our first show, I was like, I have no idea. It was a lot of money. I mean, I think it was $800 just for the booth, you know, and then of course it was 2 hours away. So you've got all the driving, parking was $25 a day, you know, so you have all these expenses you're trying to add up, and you're going, okay, I have to make $1,500 just to break even, you know, not because you count food and all that.
Hotel, yeah.
You know, and for your first show, you're just like, you know, but if I wouldn't have taken that first step, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Absolutely.
You know, if we wouldn't have taken our first step with that first house, we wouldn't be where we are today. So that's been one of the things. So now when I'm taking those first steps, I don't have any fear anymore. Like, it doesn't matter if it's something that I'm familiar with or something that is
completely new territory.
Oh yeah. I'm just like, we're just going to go, you know, cause I know, again, you know, I would rather learn than not do it at all.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been one of the biggest things.
Yeah. So what are some of the struggles that you're currently encountering?
Time.
Yeah.
I think we all deal with that. For the clothing brand, like my social media, the algorithm has been one of the things, because it changes constantly all the time, and you finally get one thing figured out, and then it changes, you know. So that's been one of the biggest uphill battles that I've had with it, because when we go live and we're at places, you know, and people get to hear the stories and see the brand and really like, people automatically connect. And it's like trying to get that same feeling and that same connection over a picture and phrasing and wording, you know, like that's been one of our biggest uphill battles for that. With the real estate stuff, is some of it is finding the deals. And then now, of course, with interest rates where they are, even if you're doing private money, you know, private money, the interest rates are higher than even what bank rates are, you know, which is okay if it's going to be like a quick flip, you know, but if you're doing something that's buy and hold, you know, it eats into your cash flow really, really quick. So, you know, finding deals, a bunch of the banks are tightening up their restrictions on what they're doing, how they're funding. So finding new and building new relationships with new banks, that, are a little more investor friendly, has been a journey.
We've kind of gone through that as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of banks here really have tightened up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's, and then of course you have the market changing, something that, like our last house we had, 6 months, if we would have sold it 6 months earlier, we would have made $20,000 more on that same property. So it's, just dealing with the constant change and the constant uncertainty of what's coming. We have elections coming up and all the different wars, just everything that's coming up, that's going on, trying to deal with that uncertainty and plan, ahead of time. Because you don't just want to walk into stuff just blindly, So that's been trying to organize all of that and still be able to push forward, because we don't want to use any of that as an excuse. Oh, I didn't meet my goal because, we couldn't get any funding from banks. Well, how many banks did you try? Oh, we couldn't do this because interest rates were this, or I couldn't find any deals. Okay, really? Well, how many phone calls did you make? How many deals did you look at? There's always something that can be done. It just depends on how much effort we want to put into it. So
that really resonates. That's a really good example. So what's one of your favorite business books, and then how important do you think personal development is if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur or an investor?
I think it is of utmost importance. There is nothing better than investing in yourself. And actually, the book I'm reading right now is called The 5 a.m. Club. And
I just read that.
I think right now that's probably my favorite book. It's something. So this has been this year has been something cool. My son's 11, and so now he gets to start going to the gym with me, and which he's always wanted to do, but he's never been old enough, because of insurance reasons and stuff like that. So with both the clothing line and my real estate stuff, even though I'm at home, working, there's a lot of stuff where I'm just working at home. And so I don't get to spend as much time with them. So these are those times where we really get to have that father-son bonding time. And, with the 5 a.m. club, we started getting up at 5 a.m. And so we get up, we 5 a.m., we get worship, we get our quiet time, then we go to the gym, and we go to the gym, and then it has a sauna, so we sit in the sauna for 30 minutes, and then come home. I do my cold plunge and try to get him to do it as well, and sometimes he will. Like yesterday, he's like, okay, well, I'll do the cold plunge if you get me a Prime, which is one of those drinks. Yeah. And I'm like, man, to have such a simple request, I'm like, yes. He goes, I'll do it for 5 minutes if you get me a Prime. Let's rock and roll. So, but it's been.
Have you kept it outside? Because recently I got a cold plunge as well.
So I have mine on order, the actual pod.
Okay.
So the cool thing is, with it being winter, so if I just run a cold bath, it's 48, 49 degrees. Yeah. Like if you're getting it right from, like, no water's been running. I'll use a thermometer or whatever to measure. Yeah. So, so I may not be at the 32 degrees, but, when you do the research stuff, it's like anything below 55 degrees, your goal is you want to put your body into shock. Yeah. And so, to start off with, I'm getting good at being able to, handle 49 degrees. So when my other pod comes in, I'll be, but yes, I'll keep it outside.
So the reason I brought that up is we actually just got one. Haley got one for me for Christmas, and man, it's awful. So right now, like, I need to get it to where I can do it for 10 minutes straight. But right now, I'm like, the longest I've done is like 1 minute and 20 seconds or something like that. And it's killing me. This morning, I got in for like 20 or 30 seconds because it was froze over. So I was like, gosh, how am I going to get my body trained to do
this? So really, the research, says on a lot of it, I mean, it depends on who you're looking at or whatever, but the majority of it, they're like, if you can do 15 minutes a week, so, because the goal is you're trying to stress the body.
Yeah.
So start off with a minute, like get to a minute, and then your body's going to get to a point where, okay, it can handle a minute easy. And then you start pushing to 2 minutes. Then you start pushing to 3 minutes. One of the things that I'll do is, because I do audiobooks, so I'll get in completely submerged except for my head, and then I'll put my audiobook on, and I will concentrate on listening to the audiobook. Mm-hmm. So I'm not concentrating on
being cold.
Oh my gosh, I'm freezing.
Yeah.
And that has helped me.
Okay.
A lot. Putting your mindset in something else really helps.
Yeah.
So that might be something to try.
Awesome. Another thing is, like, she also got me a sauna, so I've been trying that out. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like when we go to the gym, our gym has a sauna, so it's like we'll get done working out, we go sit for 30 minutes in the sauna, and then come home, and then I get right into the cold plunge. Yeah. So it's been amazing, and again, being able to take my son on these journeys with me, because like I love my dad, but my dad, worked swing shifts, and so I didn't get to do any of this stuff with my dad. Never got to go to the gym with my dad. Never got to sit down and talk in a sauna and do worship with him, and like get up early and have him talk to me about books that he's reading and be an entrepreneur. Like I never had any of that with my dad. Mm-hmm. So what he is getting to experience right now, and how I'm getting to help shape him and change him for his future, is just amazing. It's like I know our connection as he continues to grow older, because it's not a oh, my dad is my best friend, because he still respects me as his father. Mm-hmm. But when he gets to look at me as not only a father but as a mentor, like I want to do what my mentor does. Yeah. Just like we do with Jesus. Like Jesus is, our father, but he's also like, I mean, he's our Lord and Savior, but it's like he's also our mentor. Like we want to follow in his footsteps. He teaches us, and we want to do what he teaches. So, if we can mimic that with our children, it's like that's what I would rather do that than try to be their best friend. Mm-hmm. And my 6-year-old, my daughter is the same way. She's more and more as she's getting, we put up we got one of those pull-up bars that you hang in your doorway.
Hallway, yeah.
And so she can't do like the pull-ups yet, but she'll sit there and like by herself, but she'll sit there and she constantly is on that pull-up bar, and she's on the pull-up bar. She'll use her feet to try to help walk up, and she'll be like, and she'll be over there trying to do, and she'll be like, Dad, help me do a pull-up. And I'll just barely try. I'm like, okay, you gotta pull, and I'll grab her and I'll just barely help her, and she'll be like, oh, trying to do the pull-up. But it's the things that they see us try to do. Mm-hmm. They see that we're trying to get healthy. They see that we're trying to do different things, and so
that's really exciting. Your kids are a little bit older than mine, so you're kind of seeing like the effects really. Mm-hmm. Where to me, like I do affirmations every day with my kids. I say, "Do you believe in yourself?" They go, "Oh yeah." "Is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior?" "Oh yeah." "Can you do anything you set your mind to?" "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty much to the extent. But I try to pour as much entrepreneurial stuff in them, and then I pray over them and their future spouses and stuff like that every night, and try to instill that Christian value and entrepreneurship in them. So, you talked about your kids a lot. So what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Like both like maybe materialistic things like real estate or whatever, but also like the deeper legacy stuff.
I want my kids to be world changers. And that happens in 2 ways. People can talk a talk, mm-hmm. but unless they have the resources to be able to walk the walk, mm-hmm. then, I can say, hey, I'm going to pray for you all day long to help you meet a need. But unless I actually do it, or unless I actually step up and help be, able to meet that need, there's not a lot in talking. So for my children to be world changers, they need to both have the moral character, the spiritual character, and the financial character to be able to accomplish all those things. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to set them up in all three areas. I want them to be good people. They've got to be trustworthy. They got to have integrity. They've got to have a good character. I want them to be leaders. Yeah. I don't want them to be, people that just point and shoot. I want them to draw people to them because of their character and their leadership abilities. And then spiritually, I want them to be strong in their faith, that they're not rocked by what's going on in the world, that like they know every single day who they are and that their identity is rooted in Christ. And then I want to be able to leave the legacy that, monetarily, whatever needs that they can meet, that they can go be the hands and feet of Christ and actually make a difference. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, we spent 30 grand overseas or whatever, but it's like, oh, this single mom has a car that's broke down and now she can't go to work and now she can't, put food on the table. It's like, hey, you know what? I know this other person that has a really good, dependable vehicle. I'm going to go buy that vehicle, pay for insurance for a year, pay for the tags and pay for the tags and everything, and I'm going to give her a month's worth of groceries. Like those are the type of things, like that's life changing for that family.
Yeah.
But that's being able to, that's being able to make a difference. It's completely different than just saying, oh, well, I'll pray that everything gets better for you. But if you'd actually go in and be like, you know what, the Lord's going to use me to meet that need. Yeah. Like that's what I want my kids to be able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's one thing that you're scared to do, but you need to do, like in your business or anything?
Going back to cold plunges. Those are, it's the getting healthy part is, cause I don't have a thyroid. And, so it takes my body, like I have to work twice as hard to be able to do the things that I used to be able to do. Mm-hmm. So even because my body doesn't process anything that I do orally. So food, pills, any of that type of stuff. Like if I was to take melatonin, I couldn't just take one melatonin. I have to take like 4, because my body won't process all of one. So for me to go to being consistent at the gym, being consistent with, my time with my kids, like just the consistency of, I have to do this. That's because I very easily can let my work stuff, I can put all my focus on the clothing line or all my focus on the real estate stuff. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, shoot, it's time for the kids to go to bed. And I'm just now getting, Mm-hmm. So that's something that is hard and scary at the same time, because I feel that if I don't put my efforts in these other things, that I'm going to lose them. Mm-hmm. But I also have to look at it and go, if I don't put my efforts in these things, I'm going to lose them as well. So The fear is, how do I accomplish everything? Mm-hmm. But I know that I need to, so other than that, I don't really have, I've gotten to the point where whatever I face, mm-hmm. I know that we're going to get through it. I just have to walk through it. Yeah. So, but that's my biggest fear is not living up to my own expectations, mm-hmm. And not being able to accomplish everything.
Yeah. I struggle with that too. And then also I struggle with not knowing if I'm doing the best job that I could be doing in in every area. Yeah. So feeling like you're failing, but then if you you're not supposed to compare, but if you compare yourself to everyone else, then you're doing pretty good. But it's is that really your potential, or is that just you look like you're doing good?
Yeah.
So that's
like your potential versus people that are not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm doing better than the guy that's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what I've always struggled with. So,
Yeah. And then you look at your mentors who are like
killing it.
And you're just like, you know,
how am I going to get there?
But then you look at, you know, their struggle and their story, and they're like, you know, this didn't just happen last year.
Yeah.
You know, there's 8 years of, you know, this, or, you know, so my buddy who with the Lambo, that my mentor, so he started off as a Domino's delivery driver.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, and worked his way up to shift manager, store manager, got an opportunity to buy into a first franchise, and started building started buying stores. And he had, I think, 3 or 4 franchises before 2008 came. Of course, economy crashed in 2008 and everything just took, a dive. And then I think he said he had to give up like 1 or 2 of his stores. And then, now he's got like, I think 30 some stores.
Oh, wow.
But he also owns the shopping centers that they're in.
Oh, there you go.
And he owns the construction company that builds the shopping centers. So, so being able to pivot, and one of the things that I love about him is he keeps, and it used to be a hard like piece of paper. Now it's all digital, but he had a list every year of what his income was from his very first store to where it is now. And, there was a couple years where you see 0, or negative whatever, especially during the 2008 year, where he was literally like his store managers were making more than he was, and you see a lot of these times where it was those little tiny little salaries, and his district managers or his store managers or stuff like that was making more than the owner. Yeah. And one of the things he constantly tells me when he shows me that is don't ever give up. Yeah. Like if you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, don't ever give up. He's like, it's going to suck, and then it's going to get better, and then it's going to suck again, and then it's going to get better. Yeah. And you see where he's at now, and now he's like, his employees are definitely not making more than he is.
So how can people connect with you?
So we have our social media is We Are Warriors Apparel, all one word. Our website is www.wearewarriorsapparel.com. You can also email me at jason@wearewarriorsapparel.com.
Awesome. And then do you have a final message for our audience?
I want to tell you guys to take immediate action. That is one of the things that has really helped me grow and be successful. That's one of the things that even my other mentors, they're like, man, as soon as we tell you and give you an idea, like you're immediately running with it. There's no, okay, I got to figure out had a mentor meeting. We had 3 of us, we were doing a Zoom call on when we were doing, right before we did the rebrand. And we were trying to figure out how do we get our message, of who we are and what we're doing into like one phrase, one word. And one of my mentors was like, it needs to be something like undefeated or, conquer or overcome. And I was like, that's it right there. And so the next day I had the font designed. I had the new shirts designed. I had the new hoodies designed. I had the new joggers designed, like in the next day. Yep. So I'm sending them pictures. Here you go. What do you think of these? And they were like, dude, we were just throwing, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm running with. And they were like, that is awesome.
Man, you kick butt. That's amazing.
So take immediate action because again, as we talked about earlier, imperfect action is always going to be better than not doing anything at all.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, thank you guys for watching the Kurima podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.